My name is Hampley III. I'm a Chief Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force, and this is part 4 of my video series called Stripes, Bullet Writing and Career Management. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to write a duty description. So this video is a continuation of our documentation phase, and I covered the first part last week on the bullet writing and bullet mechanics and how to develop a bullet and kind of sharing some of my own ideas and opinions about it. So if you want, please go and check that video out on our Facebook page, also on our YouTube channel if you like. So all of these videos that I'm describing in Stripes comes from a book that I wrote called Stripes. So this is the book called Stripes right here. And so you can download this book on my website, spiritualcombatants.com. You can click on the books link. This book is at the bottom of the page. Click on the link, and then you can download a free PDF, or you can go to Amazon, Google, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or iBooks to be able to purchase a hard copy or an ebook if you like. So that book will have a lot of information. It'll cover most of the information I describe here, also a little bit more in detail, as well as a 2,000-word verb list in the back. So please use these things as a resource. This is what I'm sharing. I'm giving you all of my opinion, my expertise, and I won't say expertise. I don't want to put it out there like that, like I'm all that. But this is just my perspective on what it takes to have a successful career, or whatever that means to you. Success can mean, many different things. So it doesn't have to be being a Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force. And I kind of described that in some other videos. But this video right here is about the duty description. And the duty description is really important because it sets the stage. To me, it's the foundation of all of the entire EPR. And so you have a great duty description because it's saying, okay, this is what I'm responsible for, my scope of responsibilities, and I killed it. And so that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to structure it and have a great process for building that, because it sets that tone for the rest of the report. So for me, the first time that I really got into looking at duty description or even changing it was when I was a Master Sergeant. I believe I was at OSAN. I was working at the 607th AOC, and I think it was like 2011, 2012. And so as a superintendent, just kind of giving you a little bit of a nudge as far as what superintendents may do. One of the things I did was I sat down and looked at every airman's duty description, every airman that was in my division. So I looked them all up, and I really didn't think that they matched what they were doing. And so I was like, well, I probably need to change it, but I've never heard about anybody changing it. I didn't even think you could change it, but I'm thinking like, all right, I'm kind of looking around. I'm just going to change it. And so I just adjusted it as necessary for each airman to make sure it fit their scope of responsibilities, and I captured everything. And oftentimes we don't capture everything that an airman may be doing, and we kind of have this generic, yeah, I supervise some people and I process the papers. Okay, there it is. But instead, if I can capture it correctly, then I can show that this airman at whatever rank is responsible for all these things, and it sets that stage to say all the other bullets said I not only met the standard, but I exceeded it far and above. And so I want to help you do that today. So let's get into that. So in this first line, we look at is the lead off. And this line should outline all the scope of responsibilities, just capture everything that you may have. So in the book that I have, I'm gonna read to you what I have in the book as far as the first line in Stripes. It says, training in NCOIC for the Air Force's largest maintenance training squadron, supporting 15,000 personnel across 3 continents. If you think about word picture, and I talk about word picture in my second video, that gives you a clear understanding of what this person is responsible for, and their scope of responsibilities very large. And you're like, okay, I got it. You start to think of 3 continents. You're like, man, that's a wide area that this person is responsible for. And that sets off a great tone for an EPR, just kind of baselining it right from there. And so one of the places, or there's 2 places that you can get it from. And one of the places that I got mine from, and I'm gonna share that with you here in a minute, is my commander's biography. And so most of the time the commander's biography may say something or mention something that's unique for that squadron. Like in this example, this is the Air Force. As an example, I use Air Force's largest maintenance squadron. And so in some other examples, what's unique about your squadron? Maybe it's the largest in the nav. Maybe it's the largest in the command. Maybe it's the most storied. Maybe you have the largest support system, or whatever that may be. So one of the places you can look, your commander's bio, most of the time they'll have something that's unique about whatever it is, the history behind your squadron, or what makes it special within the Air Force, or within the MATCOM, on base, whatever that may be. So you want to look there first. first. And you can also talk to your unit or your base historian. Oftentimes they may also have some information about the unit to say, okay, this is the largest unit in the numbered Air Force or what have you. It's the most storied and we have all these decorations. All it is collecting information, kind of like we did with finding the impact, asking the who, what, when, where, why, and how, so that you can kind of gather more information, because that should always lead it off. This is, I'm this NCO, or I'm doing this, and this is my scope of responsibilities. I'm responsible for all these type of things. Very important. That first line is real critical. But let's get into the second line. So the second line is the office, and this describes the duties and responsibilities given by your supervisor. And so I like to think of this as whatever your supervisor, what's your day-to-day task that your supervisor generally asks you to accomplish each day. That's what you're going to provide. And it's kind of like that first step. And as you can see, it's just kind of going up and up and up. So that's what you want to kind of break down as that first portion. Now in the next line, in the third line, you want to have the unit or base. And this is just identifying whatever products or services or support that you provide to the unit or the entire base. I want to get that in one line. This is kind of what I support. This is what I provide. This is what I give. And then in the last line, you're looking at here is the base and external agencies. Again, I'm looking at, okay, what do I provide my base? What products and services do I provide to our higher headquarters? And making sure that I capture that whole scope of responsibilities. So what happens here, if you look back at this, the first line talks about I'm responsible for all this stuff. And then those other lines kind of cover, okay, I'm responsible for all these other things as well. So it kind of gives you a well-rounded, well-balanced view of what your responsibilities might be. So that's very important. And then as a bonus, sometimes you may want to list like a deployment or any type of special assignment that may have been significant that you have spent a lot of time doing or performing during that year. So if you have a deployment, then you can say, hey, I was the training. So maybe if that was that could be a deployment bullet. So maybe that's that's number 4. So then you say, okay, deploy to, wherever, if you can list where you're deployed to, then, I accomplished these tasks and this is what I did. And then I just kind of show that line as far as my scope of responsibilities as well, because I want you to know that, hey, while I was deployed, I was responsible for all these things. And then you'll have those bullets below that support what you're doing and show that I didn't only meet the standard, but I exceeded it. All right. So let's go into my EPR. And so this is my 2015 EPR as a senior master sergeant going up for chief. I made chief master sergeant off of this EPR. This was the one that was on top. So I want to go over that with you. So my first line was the first sergeant for the Department of Defense's largest multi-service intel training unit with 4,000 graduations each year and 11 specialties at 3 locations. And so I found that information off of my commander's bio. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't realize that, when you think about the word picture, we are the Department of Defense's largest multi-service intelligence training unit. And so you're talking about 4,000 graduations and 11 specialties at 3 locations. We're stationed in Texas. We have operating location in Florida as well as Arizona. And so now I was trying to find a way how I can add all those in there. We also had in the squadron about 200,000, a little over 200,000 training hours as far as hours of instruction. But because I'm not an instructor, I didn't think that was really appropriate for me to use that. But if I was like the ops superintendent or anyone else that was kind of managing and leading airmen, I would probably use that number. Or I would take whatever fraction, like if I was the flight chief of a certain section, I would find out how many training hours we had and kind of mash that in there and kind of change it up a little bit, because I want to show the entire scope of responsibility that I have. So my line 2, I said that I was the principal advisor to the commander on issues related to the enlisted force, morale, good order, and discipline, readiness. That's just generic first sergeant stuff. So that's my everyday, day-to-day job. That's what I provide to my commander and my airmen. Line number 3, I talk about the unit and the base. And this is, the quality force reviews, council, squadron, personnel, families on personal, financial, and personal issues. That, again, that's kind of a generic, to me, it's a generic first sergeant bullet. That's something that we all do, and that's what we provide our unit or across the base as well. And then when we go to line 4, external base, external agencies, again, coordinating with base local agencies on availability of services. info outreach, discipline, and rehabilitation of airmen. So that's a very simple EPR, just a duty description that describes what I'm responsible for. But as you can tell, that first line, as far as being the largest Intel multi-service Intel training unit in the Department of Defense, that sets the tone for everything else. And I'm gonna go over, I didn't think I was gonna share my EPR in the next couple videos, but I think I am. I'm gonna share some of those bullets because I wanna show you how those two time in. Because I state very clearly that, okay, I'm in this the DoD's largest training unit, Intel training unit, and then somehow my bullets support that and show how I exceeded the standard and how those tie in together, because they do. And oftentimes we don't put a lot of weight on the duty description, but there should be a lot of weight on there, and we should really take a lot of time to make sure that they're honed, they're written correctly, and they fit the person's performance. As a chief, that's one of the things I do for every airman, every EPR that I review. I'm looking at the duty description, and I will kind of read it up or kind of mark it out like, hey, there may be some things that you haven't identified, or asking them about the unit. So take the time to review your not only yours, but also your airmen's duty descriptions. Make sure they fit, and if this fits what you're doing, then, you know, perfect, cool. If you think like, hey, this is a good start, maybe I want to kind of tweak it a little bit, but find a way to make sure that you list all the scope of responsibilities for yourself and your airmen, so that all your bullets go back to support it. They shouldn't be separate, and sometimes we treat it separately like it's different compartments, but it's not different compartments. It's like I said in previous videos, it's all one document, and you want to make sure it's almost like the duty description is like the thesis, and so now I'm giving this thesis, everything else is going to support I have all this other information in the EPR that supports that thesis, that thesis. So you want to make sure that you capture it correctly, it's written well, and it shows the entire scope of your responsibilities. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always hit me up in the comments. You can shoot me an email on the global. And until the next time, just continue to follow some of our other videos, like this one, share it, like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until the next time, may God bless you abundantly. God bless.